For over centuries, Western science had marched triumphantly under the banner of objective truth, led by the power of empirical observation and the scientific method. It gave us the Enlightenment, industrial revolutions, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, but, paradoxically, a deep existential vacuum. With postmodernism, the intellectual scaffolding of objectivity began to tremble. Truth was no longer absolute. Meaning was no longer fixed. Scientific certainty was replaced with a new methodological humility, falsification, a process of trial and error, not confirmation. In other words, science no longer told us what is true, it only tried to tell us what is not false yet. This shift gave birth to philosophical movements such as existentialism, nihilism, and absurdism. From Nietzsche's God is Dead to Camus' The Myth of Sisyphus, the West confronted an uncomfortable idea. Perhaps there is no objective meaning, and the more we know, the less we understand. In many ways, Western thought arrived at a dead end. The Western philosophical tradition, from Descartes' cogito ergo sum, to Newtonian physics, began with the assumption that the world is intelligible, measurable, and orderly. Reality, it was believed, could be broken into parts, measured, modeled, and understood through reason. But as science progressed, cracks appeared. Quantum physics revealed that particles behave differently when observed, challenging the very premise of objectivity. Gödel's incompleteness theorems proved that even in mathematics, truth cannot be both complete and consistent. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle showed that the more precisely we know one thing, the less precisely we know another. Postmodern philosophy of Wittgenstein, Derrida and others questioned language, logic, and even the possibility of meaning itself. Each of these developments chipped away at the foundations of the Enlightenment project. The West, which began with, I know, was now left with, I don't know. Eastern philosophy, on the other hand, begins with humility. It begins with ignorance, not certainty. The Vedic mantra neti neti, not this, not that, is not a rejection of truth, but an acknowledgement that truth cannot be grasped by the intellect alone. Where Western thought often builds linear frameworks, Eastern traditions explore circular, paradoxical, and intuitive paths. From Buddhism's emptiness to Advaita Vedanta's non-duality, from Taoism's effortless flow to Zen's koans that break rational thinking, the East embraced mystery not as a failure of reason, but as its transcendence. The East did not fear the void. It named it Shunyata, Wu Wei, Mu, Zen. It invented the concept of zero, not as absence, but as infinite potential. It recognized that the greatest truths are not discovered, but realized, through silence, meditation, and the dissolution of the self. Modern science, particularly quantum physics, now finds itself echoing these ancient Eastern insights. The observer effect sounds eerily similar to the Buddhist idea that reality is dependent on perception. The duality of particles and waves reflects the yin-yang duality of complementary opposites. The entanglement of particles across space recalls the non-duality of all things in Advaita. The illusory nature of time and self aligns with the teachings of both Buddha and Adi Shankaracharya. It is no surprise that many pioneering quantum physicists, including Niels Bohr, Erwin Schrödinger, and Oppenheimer, turned to Eastern philosophy to make sense of their discoveries. Schrödinger explicitly referenced the Upanishads, and Bohr adopted the yin-yang symbol on his family coat of arms. The Western mind is now ready for the Eastern approach, not as a rejection of science, but as its complement. Where science offers tools, philosophy offers wisdom. Where science asks, how, philosophy asks, why. Where science dissects, philosophy integrates. Where science doubts meaning, philosophy creates meaning. Eastern philosophy does not demand blind faith. It invites direct experience through meditation, reflection, and mindful living. It offers not knowledge as possession, but consciousness as presence. As we face global crises, ecological, existential, ethical, we need a paradigm shift. Not one of technology alone, but of consciousness. The solution is not to abandon Western science, but to enrich it with Eastern insight. Imagine a worldview that combines the precision of physics with the paradox of Zen, the power of technology with the ethics of mindfulness, the scientific method with the philosophy of emptiness. This is not mysticism. It is a deeper realism, one that acknowledges both the limits of the mind and the infinity of awareness. We began this journey with the idea that Western science has hit a wall. But perhaps it has simply reached a mirror, one held up by its Eastern twin, reminding it that not knowing is not the end of knowledge, but the beginning of wisdom. As the Tao Te Ching says, to know that you do not know is the best. Not to know yet think you know will lead to difficulty. If your mind enjoyed this, engage with Braingasm pages, like, share, comment and subscribe.